Hi everyone, Tom Vogel, wrestling's finest PC pro wrestling game. Thanks for tuning in for this video. This is going to be a little different one. I thought I'd do a video on booking issues, problems that we all come up with from time to time with what wrestling's finest gives us or doesn't give us. And occasionally I get emails from people saying they feel sometimes a little overwhelmed because something will happen in the game that just throws them for a real loop, and it gets, I think, they feel bad about it that they can't figure it out. And I think part of this video is to tell them and everyone that we all get curveballs that are thrown to us that buckle our knees and brings us up for the third strike. It's just part of the game. That's part of how the game was designed. To occasionally give us sleepless nights, occasionally, make us want to pull our hair out. And I mean, I've had the game playing it for, 37, 38 years now, and it still baffles me from time to time. And it's not a reflection on anyone's lack of creativity or lack of planning. It just, stuff happens, and you just got to do the best you can to either come up with a solution, or in some cases it's just better to do nothing. Just not necessarily ignore it, but work around it, and eventually something's going to spark in your mind, whether it's you're watching wrestling videos on DVD or YouTube, or reading somebody else's wrestling worlds, or maybe the game kind of gives something back to you that you can use to explain something that you were stumped on. And so for this video, I'm going to go over some 3 roadblocks I have, and one that was puzzling. And when I was walking the dog today, I know what I'm going to do. Now, will it work out great? I don't know, but at least I have an avenue to pursue. So, first thing that's my issue is Tommy Rich was injured for 104 days. And, yeah, okay, I can fill him in, as a singles wrestler. But, on my screen right here, you'll see this is the wrestler selection screen, and you'll see these are my Georgia tag teams I put together in a tag file. And I don't know how many are showing up right now, but I see Dick Slater and Tommy Rich, Bob Armstrong and Tommy Rich. I believe you might see Dusty Rhodes and Tommy Rich. And then you get to the bottom here and you got Tommy Rich Atlas, Tommy Rich Wahoo, Tommy Rich Stan Hansen, Paul Orndorff, Tommy Rich. A lot of Tommy Rich teams. And what happens when you take him out of the mix is I'm really struggling for face tag teams. Part of the problems with smaller territories, and in Georgia falls in, and actually a lot of territories have the same problem. They would mishmash tag teams, meaning Tommy Rich in a 5-night span could actually team with 5 different guys. None of them would actually be regular tag teams. He might have short runs, at a tag team. I know him and Tony Atlas teamed up for a while, him and Ted Dibiase, but nothing, that really, stuck for a long time. And that's how the smaller promotions would get away with having fewer wrestlers. They could, a face could be a part of 7, 8, 9, 10 different tag teams, and it worked great. And I have no problem with it, because if you think back, to the late 70s, early 80s, we had no internet. So say they were in Rome, Georgia, how many people would know what happened in Rome? Of course, the people who were there, and you might get some people that say, hey, we got a couple shows within an hour and a half of our town this week, let's go to them, let's go to both of them. So maybe they could say, hey, the same thing that happened in Rome was the same match up here. But people weren't told what went on, when they highlighted the matches on Georgia Championship Wrestling's television show. The only time you'd ever really hear anything about another town was with something, if something really wild happened, or you had a title change. You didn't even know for the most part, you didn't even know the cards unless a wrestler said, like Bob Armstrong might say, and tonight in Chattanooga, when I get my hands on you, Ole Anderson, you're going to be all mine. Occasionally they dropped the hint who was going to be there, but for the most part, you didn't know who wrestled and you didn't know the outcome. So I try to do that with Georgia. So when I'm in my house show towns, I do, will put Tommy Rich one night with Orndorff, the next night with Tony Atlas. It gives me a lot of freedom and I don't run out of guys. But now that Rich is hurt, it really makes things difficult. Adding further injury to the situation is I decided to turn Ted DiBiase face to heel. He had been gone, came back, brought him in as a heel, kind of a little bit of a swerve there, mainly because I didn't want to use the early rating for Ted DiBiase just because it's just not, he was too goody two-shoes for me. So I go, hey, let's just take Ted DiBiase as heel. Well, on my little Georgia list, there's at least 5 or so Ted DiBiase tag teams, face tag teams, so I can't use those. So not having Rich and now having DiBiase as a heel is making my life very tough as I find not just challengers to the Samoans, but just regular tag team matches. So what's my solution? Right now I don't have one. Why? Because I don't know one. I'm basically just going to have piecemeal my face tag teams together, and if one of the teams does beat the Samoans, it'd be kind of nice if they could hold the title for a while, only because it will maybe buy me some time to come up with another idea. Thing I'm worried about is that if it's a face team that didn't team together a lot, they're going to probably have a hard time holding on to the titles, because I might bring in the Masked Assassins. You got the Freebirds, you got the Samoans. I'd like to bring in Ivan Koloff and Alexis Smirnoff, but they are regular tag teams. There just aren't a lot of Georgia regular tag teams. I mean, you have the Armstrongs, of course, but, other than that, nothing real solid. So that's my headache right now, and that's something I have to try to figure out. My next thing that's just driving me nuts is how to get Roddy Piper involved in Georgia other than as a commentator. A quick history lesson. I believe Piper came in at the end of October of '81 as a guest commentator, and he was good. He was that real smart aleck, but he broke the match down. You notice Mr. Sully, when he puts that arm hold on, he doesn't have a wide base with his legs. That allows his opponent to get him off balance. Now, if I was applying that hold, I would have my real wide base, and it wouldn't allow my opponent to get me off balance, and I could therefore control the wrestler. But then again, who's Roddy Piper? So, he had that kind of wise guy, but he was very entertaining and very knowledgeable. Plus, it made it sound like he was unbeatable because he never, ever wrestled on TV. And what they did was great. They had a slow build-up with him and mainly Bob Armstrong, because Piper would insult Brad and, say, oh, poor little Brad has to have his daddy. And that, of course, would irritate Bob. And before long, they came close to having, I think, a couple brawls. And then I think it was in February of '82, it all just broke loose. We had a wild pull-apart brawl. I mean, neither one won the brawl. They had a pull. It was great. You can YouTube it. Bob Armstrong, Roddy Piper brawl. And so what that did was it got Piper into the ring for a while, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm waiting for that opening, but I'm just not quite finding. And I thought I might have something with Steve-O, but nothing ever came up. And now I'm trying to see maybe Paul Orndorff, testing the waters there. I was hoping for something to happen. It didn't, so I gotta, put Piper back in the shadows. But eventually something will come up, and I just have to be patient. The last one I have, and this is the one I believe I at least have a way I can pursue it. We'll see how it goes. And that involves the tournament I had just last Georgia card in the Omni where Ken Patera won the national title. In the semifinal, it was Ken Patera versus Gino Hernandez, and a minute 5 into the match or so, Gary Hart, for whatever reason, jumped up in the turnbuckle, came jumping down on Ken Patera right in front of the referee. Gino was disqualified. That allowed Patera to go to the finals, and I thought that wasn't my favorite result, but there had to be a reason. Now, Gino never had a huge push in Georgia, and so the fact that he's, it happened to him, I'm okay, because he wasn't doing very well for me anyway, and I was going to try to phase him out. And this is a great way just to basically have him disappear without having anything to do with him and Gary Hart. I believe I know what I'm going to pursue with Gary Hart and how maybe we can explain this. It could turn out real well, and it could turn out to be a dud. And however it turns out, it's going to be a very, very, very short-term little situation. But it does help me, I guess, justify what Gary Hart did and why he did it. And this was bugging me a little bit, but this one here, I think, when I was out moving rocks in the backyard with Marta, I think this idea came to me, and I think she got mad at me because she was asking me or wanted me to put the rock in a certain spot, and of course I had tuned her out because I had Wrestling's Finest stuff on my mind. And she finally said, "Are you even listening to me?" And of course I said yes, and I kind of bluffed my way, but luckily we got the rock where it was supposed to go, and I got something to work with now. And that will be upcoming here, just like in the next TV show, I'll actually unveil it. So those are the situations I wanted to, explain, go over. Again, we all go through this. It's, I think one person actually didn't like the game. I respect it. They said they just wanted to put the wrestlers out, run the matches, and if something crazy happened, the game would tell them who, what, why, and when. They just didn't want to think that much, and unfortunately, Wrestling's Finest was not the game for them. I think they would have been more happy with one of those quick play games, play that, maybe for a month or two, and then maybe move on to your baseball game of choice, whatever. But I just don't think, it was a good fit for them, because Wrestling's Finest will challenge you. It will put you in predicaments you might not want to be, but it's also, I love it. It's hard for me to play other tabletop games, baseball, basketball, so forth, only because the wrestling one makes me think more, and these situations I just went over have really been rolling around my head, and actually woke up in the middle of the night, had to let the dog out, and laid back down, and all I could think of was, what am I going to do for tag teams? 1:58 in the morning, not my ideal thing, but, I guess I wasn't, worrying about a bill or, a car problem. It was wrestling, so, but it will challenge you, and you just gotta, sometimes you just gotta work around it and not beat yourself up, and eventually you'll either get the idea or the game will give you a little avenue, just like I'm hoping it will for my Piper situation. The tag teams are different because it's just, I don't have tag teams, and so I'm going to be studying some things I might be able to do. Not sure if I'll do it or if it'll even work, but so that's it. It's one of my shorter videos. I might make it in 15. Thanks for joining in. Hope this was somewhat, I don't know if the word's interesting or enlightening, but maybe just to reassure some of you that don't feel like you're the only person out there that gets stumped or baffled from time to time. It happens to all of us. So thanks for joining in. Please consider jumping over to our Delphi forum. If you type in DELPHI forum, Wrestling's Finest, those 4 words into your search engine of choice, it'll take you right to our Delphi page, and I believe it's on the top left. It will say website. That will take you to the website, but the Delphi will really tell you a lot about the game. Great guys, great wrestling discussions, and some phenomenal wrestling projects, or what I call wrestling worlds going on. We have a lot of cool stuff. Um, Join in, even if you're not going to purchase the game or you're just a wrestling fan. Feel free to post and engage in our stuff going on. You can also send me an email if you have questions. I'll spell it for you. It's all lowercase. T as in Tom, OMMY, V as in Victor, 33 at att.net. Again, that's Tommy V 33 at att.net. Thanks again for joining in. I do appreciate the support, and I look forward to doing some more videos. Tom Vogel, Wrestling's finest PC pro wrestling game. So long.